Hello, YouTube fan. Get ready for an amazing video experience. Welcome, friends, to our video dedicated to subspecies. Let's dive right in and uncover its wonders. Subspecies film series. In biological classification, subspecies is a rank below species used for populations that live in different areas and vary in size, shape, or other physical characteristics morphology, but that can successfully interbreed. Not all species have subspecies, but for those that do there must be at least two. Subspecies is abbreviated subsp, or sp, and the singular and plural forms are the same. The subspecies is all the subspecies are. In zoology, under the International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, the subspecies is the only taxonomic rank below that of species that can receive a name. In botany and mycology, under the International Code of Nomenclature for algae, fungi, and plants, other infraspecific ranks, such as variety, may be named. In bacteriology and virology, under standard bacterial nomenclature and virus nomenclature, there are recommendations but not strict requirements for recognizing other important infraspecific ranks. A taxonomist decides whether to recognize a subspecies. A common criterion for recognizing two distinct populations as subspecies rather than full species is the ability of them to interbreed, even if some male offspring may be sterile. In the wild, subspecies do not interbreed due to geographic isolation or sexual selection. The differences between subspecies are usually less distinct than the differences between species. As we progress through this video, let's shift our attention towards nomenclature and uncover its hidden depths. The scientific name of a species is a binomial or binomen, and comprises two Latin words, the first denoting the genus and the second denoting the species. The scientific name of a subspecies is formed slightly differently in the different nomenclature codes. In zoology, under the International Code of Zoological Nomenclature (ICZN), the scientific name of a subspecies is termed a trinomen, and comprises three words, namely the binomen followed by the name of the subspecies. For example, the binomen for the leopard is Pantheropardus. The trinomen Pantheropardus fusca denotes a subspecies, the Indian leopard. All components of the trinomen are written in italics. In botany, subspecies is one of many ranks below that of species, such as variety, subvariety, form, and subform. To identify the rank, the subspecific name must be preceded by subspecies, which can be abbreviated to subsp, or sp, as in Schonplectus californicus subsp. Tatara. In bacteriology, the only rank below species that is regulated explicitly by the Code of Nomenclature is subspecies, but infrasubspecific taxa are extremely important in bacteriology. Appendix 10 of the code lays out some recommendations that are intended to encourage uniformity in describing such taxa. Names published before 1992 in the rank of variety are taken to be names of subspecies. See International Code of Nomenclature of Prokaryotes. As in botany, subspecies is conventionally abbreviated as subsp, and is used in the scientific name Bacillus subtilis subsp. Species any. In the upcoming section, we'll be shining a light on monotypical subspecies and subspecies autonyms. In zoological nomenclature, when a species is split into subspecies, the originally described population is retained as the nomotypical subspecies or nominate subspecies, which repeats the same name as the species. For example, Motacilla alba, often abbreviated MA alba, is the nomotypical subspecies of the white wadtail Motacilla alba. The subspecies name that repeats the species name is referred to in botanical nomenclature as the subspecies autonym, and the subspecific taxon as the autonomous subspecies. Turning our focus to doubtful cases, let's explore its key elements. When zoologists disagree over whether a certain population is a subspecies or a full species, the species name may be written in parentheses. Thus, Larus argentatus smithsonianus means that American herring gull. The notation within the parentheses means that some consider it a subspecies of a larger herring gull species and therefore call it Larus argentatus smithsonianus, while others consider it a full species and therefore call it Larus smithsonianus, and the user of the notation is not taking a position. The spotlight now falls on criteria as we delve deeper into its details. A subspecies is a taxonomic rank below species, the only such rank recognized in the Zoological Code, and one of three main ranks below species in the Botanical Code. When geographically separate populations of a species exhibit recognizable phenotypic differences, biologists may identify these as separate subspecies. A subspecies is a recognized local variant of a species. Botanists and mycologists have the choice of ranks lower than subspecies, such as variety varietas or form, to recognize smaller differences between populations. Let's now turn our attention to monotypic and polytypic species and examine its role within the larger context. In biological terms, rather than in relation to nomenclature, a polytypic species has two or more genetically and phenotypically divergent subspecies, races, or more generally speaking, populations that differ from each other so that a separate description is warranted. These distinct groups do not interbreed as they are isolated from another, but they can interbreed and have fertile offspring, e.g. in captivity. These subspecies, races, or populations are usually described and named by zoologists, botanists, and microbiologists. In a monotypic species, all populations exhibit the same genetic and phenotypical characteristics. Monotypic species can occur in several ways. Some members of the species are very similar and cannot be sensibly divided into biologically significant subcategories. The individuals vary considerably, but the variation is essentially random and largely meaningless so far as genetic transmission of these variations is concerned. The variation among individuals is noticeable and follows a pattern, but there are no clear dividing lines among the separate groups. They fade imperceptibly into one another. Such clinal variation always indicates substantial gene flow among the apparently separate groups that make up the populations. Populations that have a steady, substantial gene flow among them are likely to represent a monotypic species, even when a fair degree of genetic variation is obvious. I hope you learned something new today. Let me know what you found most interesting in the comments below.